welcome to Bits On, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Sling.
Hello.
Hello.
What are we jumping into this week, Trevor?
Game design. Just blow your mind.
Never. Video games are for nerds.
We're nerds.
No, literally like the little Wonka lollies.
Ah, the Wonka lollies.
Yeah, they're the only...
They're awesome.
It's only them that are acceptable to play video games.
I think lucky I've got a packet here.
That would have been really weird if you actually did, because what 40-year-old...
Because I've got one too.
What 40-year-old has a random packet of nerds next to them? Both of us. No. So...
I have some in the cupboard. I could go get them, but I'm not going to.
Seriously? We're going to play Click Pitch. This is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us on the count of 3 to 1 click. We're going to get a fresh set of words. We'll each get an adjective and noun because this is ramped up Click Pitch, and we'll throw them at each other, come up with an improvised game design for your pleasure, and then when that kind of runs its course, we'll do it again. Yeah, let's jump in.
Okay. I have blessed reputation.
Pat Startle. And blessed reputation? Or reputable,
Yes.
did you say? Reputation.
Reputation.
Okay. Pat Startle makes me think of pets, like patting something and
Postman Pat. And his black and white cat.
Yeah. Are we licensed? Are we going to license the Postman Pat game? Make a licensed Postman Pat game?
I kind of like the idea of a Postman Pat game where he kind of gets startled by the fact that he's actually been delivering body parts all over the town.
No. All right, wait. We might get there.
Okay.
Let's
Second act.
Yeah, let's start at first principles. Postman Pat, I think startling then comes in because there are dogs, like postmen have vicious pets that they might have to go up against.
That's what he's got his black and white cat for, as bait.
As bait, not
Just
as protection.
throws it over the fence and then goes up and hands in the hands over the mail and then goes back into his van, and there's a really beaten up cat there, and he puts it in the back and gets out a new one.
Just got an endless supply of black and white cats.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of just a game where the challenge is delivering the mail. And look, that could be part of it. Part of the challenge is...
Don't deliver the blood-soaked packages. You know that that's not the right thing to do.
Well, again, Act 2, like your first act is just regular mail, and the challenge is there. It's like you can choose to maybe throw it from a distance. You've got to get your aim right. If there are dogs, then maybe you use your cat as bait.
It is so the 3D representation of Paperboy, but it's a licensed Postman Pat game where you also get to use your cat as bait.
Yeah, exactly. You've got your little red postie vehicle, right?
Yep.
It's been a while. My kids are never particularly into Postman Pat.
I don't think my son was either. It's just in my head.
Because I feel like for us it's just been around on TV and stuff, but now everything's streaming. I just haven't seen it show up. It's maybe on like iView or something. Anyway.
No, it's probably on BBC or something. Because...
Yeah, well, exactly. You going through that, is there some story then that's coming up throughout that first act as well? You're learning the people in the neighborhood, perhaps?
I think there's something going on with, like, the church in the village.
Yes.
Bringing blessed into it.
Hence blessed, yep.
And the reputation of the local church has actually been going down until something happens at the end of the first act. I think that there's like this sort of like, bleeding statue sort of big event that has sort of come in. It's like, our church is blessed with...
Okay, yeah, that's fun. So, because that like, being sort of... Postman Pat is set in, like, a small British town or whatever, or, like, Scottish or something, like, up in the Highlands or something. Yeah, it's, like, one of those little English towns. So I get a very Hot Fuzz sort of vibe then of the church and... the small town like that. So that could be fun.
Now you're just giving away the third act in which he runs around, doing jump kicks at old ladies.
jumping over fences and falling over them.
God damn, I love that film.
It's so good. I like the Hot Fuzz inspiration, essentially Hot Fuzz crossed with Postman Pat. And yes, I think at the end of the first act, what was a small sleepy town where he's, you've got to know a lot of the, the people on your route and the sort of more the personalities of the town. Then yes, this thing happens, and maybe it even cuts to like 3 years later, and because of the tourist traffic and stuff for this church thing, like everything's changed. So much busier, more people moving in. The place is essentially gentrifying and like turning into a tourist town. And so maybe it is this thing of and again, with that Hot Fuzz inspiration, someone is trying to scare off all the tourists in some way by whether they're murdering people and like posting body parts.
Yep.
And you get brought into this, you get wrapped up in it because, of course, you are the one actually handling these packages.
Yeah, because the police sort of take you down to the station and say, why have you been delivering these body parts all over town? Like, who gave them to you, or who did you kill? And what's with all these dead cats in the back of your van? Like, you're just weird, Postman Pat.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a really nice exterior, Postman Pat, but I don't know.
He's seen some shit.
He's seen some shit.
I swear that, he's probably fought in a couple of wars.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that, he's definitely like was maybe in, the first Gulf War or something like that, or even
he's settled down now as a, mid 40s, 50-year-old man. Mm-hmm. Is it about right? I think it's about right for that time.
It's like the Simpsons. He just keeps on, like in 10 years, he will have
fought in
just
Afghanistan or something.
Been in the second Gulf War and, fought in Afghanistan and all this sort of stuff. Like,
yeah, sure.
Basically,
there's always a fucking
forward.
Occupation or war going on that we can, use as a story beat for.
He just stays the same age.
People with PTSD.
The wars change.
Oh, very deep. Very deep. It's like the opposite of
Matthew McConaughey's role from Dazed and Confused.
Yes.
I stay the same age and the wars get older.
The wars keep coming. And so, let's move to a gameplay point of view then, because I want to get at least a sense of how this game plays out. Mm-hmm. In any particular act. So I am thinking kind of
maybe a Simpsons hit and run sort of thing where you're doing like little missions. It's not so much
not as wacky.
It's not as wacky. No, I'm talking more about that idea of its missions, and you can get out of the car.
Yeah,
and,
essentially
do your things.
Essentially, but a small cartoonish.
It's not an open world sort of thing. It's sort of like each chapter there's like a mission of drop the package off at these 7 places, or, drive here and get, 13 cats taken to the vets, and then, drive to the sweat lodge and make sure that,
that old man Harry
has got out of the spa, or
hasn't passed out again from dehydration. I like that as a sort of a semi-open world, almost like gated areas with some missions in between. Like you get to know. Again, it can be a fairly small town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think getting to know that small town fairly intimately will help.
Do you think that Postman Pat is married?
I mean, he's married to policewoman Polly.
Oh, okay. So I don't think they ever had kids, and I think it comes back to something happened during the war, and he's sterile, and they can't have natural kids, and they decided that they're not going to adopt. They're just going to accept that that's the way that they are. But I kind of I think that gives a bit of an extra story beat that you can sort of, have that discussion as to they're getting older, but they've got no one to share their love with.
Yeah, I like that. And
the cats keep on seeming to change because sometimes they like Policeman Polly and sometimes they don't.
And so she knocks them off?
No. She finds it a bit weird. It's kind of like the Prestige, how...
I see. She thinks it's one cat.
It's one cat.
She thinks that Postman Pat has just had this one cat for a really long time. But we, as the player, know it's an endless cycle because he uses them as bait. Gotcha. She definitely just calls him Postman Pat as well, like the full name all the time.
Like there's a deleted scene that was like a hot coffee mod that it was left on the disc accidentally, but it's just sort of like a close-up shot of just the bedroom door, and you hear her just saying, "Oh, Postman Pat, right there." Right there,
Postman Pat. Deliver your package right into my slot, Postman Pat. All right, I think let's move on from that one. What words do you have, Trevor?
Hardy football.
Hardy? Okay. I have coupled cook.
I mean, I think of Hardy and I think the Hardy Boys, like old mystery, sort of like co-op mystery to do with football.
Yep. All right, well.
Cooking.
Well, I was going to take that because I like that idea and to not sort of dilute that idea too much. It's the Cook siblings.
Okay, yep.
Solving mysteries. They're like 13 years old.
Yep. In England, because I like the idea of football being soccer.
Yes, I was thinking that too. Fuck, like, I don't care about AFL. Wrong sort of culture for, I mean, there's some pretty toxic stuff in soccer/football culture too, but yes, set in the UK. The Cook siblings, let's make them a brother and a sister.
Yep.
And they're solving crimes.
What is the crime to do with the local football club?
I mean, is this one of these things where it starts with like a small thing of like who kicked the football through the window of, the school, because no one was scheduled to play football that day. No one saw anybody, but they got into school on the Monday and there was a football that had been kicked through, the principal's window or something.
Ooh, that's not a good window to kick a ball through.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you do that, the student's going to get in trouble. Like,
yeah, but they need to know which student did it. So they called on the Cook siblings, the Cooks.
Yeah. The Cooks. Too many cooks. Yeah.
Just enough cooks. So I love the vibe of that, the aesthetic. It's very much... Well, the Hardy Boys were American, weren't they? So this...
Potentially.
I mean, it's fine. I'm not... Yeah. I'm just picturing... I'm picturing, I guess, like, the famous Five and stuff, because I think they were British then.
Yeah, because they're Enid Blyton. Yep.
Yeah. That sort of vibe as well. Just that, like, quaint... This is another quaint English village, essentially.
Oh, no. I think this is like, set in the 80s, in the suburbs of London. So,
okay.
It's a little bit
different. It's not Postman Pat's little village.
It's not Postman Pat's little village and like, you can only go so far. This is sort of like a sprawling city, but you don't really get to explore it that much because you only got your little locations that you're going to.
Yeah, of course.
I like the idea that their base is like their treehouse.
Yep.
And
classic.
It's not that pretty. It's kind of run down, but it's there.
Well, let's dig in a bit then to their sort of backstory then. They're siblings. I said they're 13, but they're probably not twins necessarily. I mean, they could be.
I like the idea that they're fraternal twins.
Okay.
Because then, you can then have like the younger sibling and then the couple of older siblings that they've got as well. And they're sort of like, at least they have each other.
Yeah. They're middle children together, essentially. So this is how they deal with their middle child syndrome where they're mostly ignored by their family.
That sounds like you've got twins that are right in the middle. Does that happen often? Do you want to talk about it?
Wait, I have twins? I've been ignoring them for so long. No, look, it's a concern. Yeah, no, I like that aesthetic. Do you think, is this what's the sort of family situation like then? Is this a broken family? Is this a strong family support?
I think it's maybe a story where the father has sort of lost his job. It's sort of like in the 80s there was a little bit of a recession and that sort of stuff. So, and basically the mums had to sort of like take up a job in the laundry or something like that. And, it doesn't pay super well. They've got 4 kids' mouths to feed. They're doing their best and the dad's kind of a bit down in the dumps, because he's lost his job and, he's out there looking, but there's just nothing.
Yeah. Look, and I think
that's the stress there.
I think that's fine. We're sort of leaning a fair bit into the tropes of the genre in that way, but that's all right, because I think it's a nostalgic kind of feel to the teen detectives sort of vibe. It will be interesting to see if we can subvert some of that as we go and whether that makes sense.
Well, I think you can almost, sometimes show through what they're seeing. So you can maybe play with the color grading. And I've been looking at how you can do these sort of things in video stuff, where you can like have it really nice and warm, and it's sort of like this is what they're seeing, and they're seeing this wonderful treehouse, and then like at some stage it's sort of one of the siblings comes in, and all you see is like a really dull, lifeless blue sort of palette that feels very cold and empty.
We did something like that a few weeks ago. With one of our other games. And I do like that as a...
Oh, yeah, I remember that game now, yeah.
I think in a game like this, that could be interesting as a transitional thing where maybe this is a story of, okay, it starts off in this very nostalgic, like you said, the sort of warm tones. It feels, they're not super close with their family, but they've got each other and they're solving these mysteries. But maybe it's set over like a few years and we can bring in some tougher subjects that they end up dealing with, and then the sort of the view of this treehouse can really represent sort of their view on the world and a bit of a loss of innocence and a shift in their perspectives.
Especially at that birthday age of 12 to 13, you're going from a tween to a teen. You've got that sort of life shift of moving away from the primary school into the high school, and it's sort of like maybe it's set at the end of
primary school?
End of primary school, going into high school.
Okay, I like the idea then that...
I'm not sure how
I think it's more similar...
how the UK...
I think it is more similar to ours here, where it's like, grade 6, 6th grade, end of is the last one of primary school, and then you generally sort of move into a high school at year 7.
Because for those people who aren't from Australia... Like, we actually only have the 2 schools. We don't have a junior high and a high school. There's no such... We don't talk about freshmen or seniors and all this sort of stuff.
No.
It is literally prep to year 12. It's prep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you leave that school and you go to high school and...
Because even that, like, for
7,
them,
8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
For them, prep is kindergarten, and then... because our kindergarten is actually preschool. Anyway, it's... Yeah.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a whole thing. So what I kind of like then is, yes, in a way to represent that, like you have... And again, we like to do this sort of start with the status quo and then shift it up, which I don't know, it's a classic sort of move. In 6th grade, they're kind of the heroes of the school.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people come to them to solve problems. They're like, they're smart kids. They've solved things for the teachers. They're like kind of get special treatment and stuff. Like, everyone loves them. And then they go to high school.
Oh yeah, they've solved the football case. Like,
they solved the football case.
It turns out that it was a new student, like just a new preppy.
Yeah,
just came in.
He was terrified when it happened.
Terrified, and the principal was like, "Oh, it'll be fine." And then charge the parents like a whole heap of money to fix the...
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll
just a thing.
Press charges against the 5-year-old and whatever.
So anyway, then I think, they do go to high school, and they're looked down upon from everyone. And their older sibling is like in year 10 or year 11, a few years ahead, and basically doesn't want to have a bar of them.
Yeah. And they're sort of they start off trying to do the same thing. Help solve people's mysteries, and they're all chipper. Hey, seems like you've got a problem there, mate. Do you want us to solve it for you? And they'll just like, fuck off, kid.
Just punches them in the stomach.
Punch them in the stomach. Exactly.
Steals their lunch money, and it's like, now it's the case of the missing lunch money.
Yeah, they keep trying to see the positive light on it. The sister's like, oh, Timmy, do you want me to solve the case of why your tummy's hurting?
I'm just seeing, like, the first thing that, they see a case and it's like, the case of this. And then they get punched and it's like, the case of this.
I love that coming up in the UI. Like, yes, you've seen that a couple of times already. You've seen, like, the beginning of the game, you know, the case of the soccer ball through the window. And then, you know, you see, I don't know, there's like one at home on the morning of high school or whatever, of just like the case of the missing left shoe.
The case of the missing breakfast. Daddy didn't get up and make it for us.
But they're all just like chipper, and it's like, so I guess we solve this by pouring ourselves some cereal. And like, there's a little scene where you got to go around and find all the milk and the spoon and wash a spoon.
I'm picturing that everything just pauses as like this flashcard sort of comes up, you know, blurs out a little bit in the background. It's this big white writing, case of this. And it's like, and then, you know, they continue on from where they were talking. But
I think it looks like a chapter in a like Hardy Boys or a Fancy Five. Fancy Five or
Secret 17. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Book, yes. And yeah,
I'm just now picturing they get punched in the stomach and they're just like bent over and it pauses and it's like the case of the sore tummy.
The case of the blood in the urine.
Solved.
It's immediately solved.
There's just something about that like, I love, and you could play with that trope a little bit more, and then, you know, it gradually goes away as you sort of realize that this is just a coming of age story, and they're learning how to.
But I think they need to solve a mystery at the high school then that has higher stakes.
The chemistry teacher is cooking meth.
Yeah, okay.
Or, you know,
something like,
it's basically, it's national newsworthy sort of stuff that they actually end up solving.
Yes, exactly. They discover some smuggling ring of drugs or whatever coming from the chemistry department in the school. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the end result, essentially.
Yeah. Because I think then everyone sort of goes, wow, these kids are actually, you know.
And I think they start fighting.
They mean business.
Because I think there's that turn, like, they get to high school, you know, they solve the case of the sore tummy. They solve a few more cases, like the case of the missing lunch money or the case of why is my school bag in a tree.
The case of the shoe print on my ass.
Yes, exactly. And
the case of the wet hair just after they get swirlied.
Gross, yes. And I think, like you said, I like the idea that as each of these happen, there's something we do where it's obviously getting less. It's less intense every time it happens, or it's less nostalgic. It's less enjoyable,
and the color grading is just very ever so slightly dropping.
Yeah, and this could even
just going towards blue over hours, like of just this.
Yeah, I think it depends. If we were able to come up with enough interesting content where you're developing these relationships and doing different things, I don't know if it would be hours, but it could be over half an hour or an hour, like enough that it's slowly happening and you're not noticing it as such. And then but like
when you solve that last crime, it immediately jumps back up to
yeah. You feel like primary school children again. But yes, I think and the player would then notice, like, oh, things are happening and it's not coming up with cases anymore. And now it's sort of, there's a bit more of a tradition, like it's moving just into, yes, this sort of coming of age story. And I think one of the siblings is feeling it a bit more and kind of fights back against, like, they don't want to investigate the crime when they do stumble onto some evidence for this drug ring.
I'm kind of going towards, like, at high school there was, especially for me, coming out of primary school, where I wasn't the most popular kid in school, but I certainly wasn't, you know, bullied at all or anything like that. But high school was where that all started. Basically, there was a lot of bullying and all this sort of stuff. I kind of like the idea that, you know, the boy is experiencing a lot of this. Like, the boy twin is really getting depressed because of, like, he's getting anxious, not wanting to actually go to school, and just, you know, sort of shine a light on the fact that there's no support network out there, and there certainly wasn't in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like you were left to do
everything
on your own.
It's going to play into that whole middle child thing where the parents they're too overworked. Like, they don't have the time to really listen to them they've got the older kid who's finishing high school and like getting ready to try to whatever, get a job or go to university or whatever, different things. They've got the younger kid who's still, fairly young and needs a lot of looking after. And so these siblings are seen as, well, like you're 13, you can kind of take care of yourself for the most part, get yourself to school, get things ready, whatever. And so, yes, they're definitely feeling neglected there in that way. And yes, I think that could be a good opportunity to really explore that age and, yes, the effect that bullying can have. And
but I'm also now seeing that, at some stage when the father realizes that, the boy's come home with a black eye and all this sort of stuff, he sort of takes him aside and sort of actually say, find out what's going on. So,
oh yeah, once it gets serious enough. Yeah.
And then I'm just picturing that, he sort of brings out like a maybe a vintage photograph album or something like that, and just showing him, that
a photograph. This is a photograph.
He's almost like a spitting image of what this kid is, and he basically says, "Yeah, I got bullied, but I promise you, it gets better." Like,
yeah, look, I think we can definitely have some support coming from there.
Just when you think that there's no support there because, there's so much other stuff going on in his life, but, then when push comes to shove, he's going to actually be there for his kid.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think it'd be interesting to have a bit of a mentor figure in the school as well, or at least a support figure there, like perhaps, the vice principal or something.
Every time that I start thinking of a support figure, I think it's just going to be the chemistry teacher, and the chemistry teacher's just going to end up being the bad guy all along.
That's all right, though. That's a good little
trope, but it's like it's also
enticing. It's an enticing little story.
It really is
story hook. Yeah, I do like that, and I mean, as we often tend to do, both dialogue driven and inventory driven sort of adventure game, perhaps. But I'm picturing sort of a third-person 3D-ish sort of thing. Maybe with some, maybe you can actually, switch back and forth between the twins.
Oh, yeah.
And solve some problems, solve some issues that way, some puzzles that way.
I'm thinking that they do their own investigations in the classrooms that they've been sort of sent to. And I think, given that it's set in the 80s, you do have, she's been sent off to home ec and she's going, why the hell am I being sent off to this, this whole sexist segregation thing, is just horrible. And he's there in woodwork and he goes, I just want to be in home ec and learn how to cook because I love to cook. And, having that juxtaposition of.
Yeah, for sure. But then, yes, that they use those times in those classes to find out some information that leads to different conclusions.
God, I'm just remembering textiles now. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we did that too. It was like,
the main thing I remember from textiles is the time that someone put their hand through the sewing machine. It got a good jab from that fucking needle.
Yep. I still don't know how a sewing machine actually works and how you can have a thread coming in from the top and yet somehow it all stays together like it.
I'm sure if you looked at the, Wikipedia page for it, you'd probably figure it out. But it is something that it's cool engineering.
It is.
Anyway, chemistry teacher meth, they solve it.
Yep.
Everyone loves them.
I love it. That's literally one of my favorite games that we've done. And you know what? That's one that we couldn't actually make because I think it'd be just a little bit too hard.
That's a big. That's a lot of art direction in that, a lot of, content, voice acting, story stuff that we are not capable of. Cool. 3, 2, 1, click.
But it talks about bullying, which is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Fucking kids. All right. 3, 2, 1, click.
Mm-hmm. What have you got?
Assuming continent.
Mint misfortune.
Ooh, mint misfortune. Hello, I'm Lady Mint Misfortune.
Is it mint as in spearmint or peppermint, or is it mint as in money?
Minting a coin. Oh, mint misfortune. Yeah. Well, maybe this is something to do with rare coins that had a misprint, as it were, or the mold went wrong in some way, and it's around, like, that's our MacGuffin is sort of the rare set of coins that only 50 were made before they stopped the printing, the minting press. I don't know what it is. The minting machine. And then yes, that's essentially.
I'm thinking it's like one of those simple things of a misalignment of a plate. So it's just got a little bit more border on one side, and the image is sort of cut off on the other side.
Well, and it shifted it a little, and I'm making this up, but they've got a separate plate for like the highlights and the lowlights or something of the image on the coin, and so it makes the queen kind of look a bit like Voldemort. So it's sort of just shifted just because of the shift on it, and so they actually get known as like the coins who should not be named. That's sort of their little slang term for talking about this small set, because they tried to cover it up essentially. The employees at the Mint.
Yeah.
But
they got out, and they've been prized. They're prized possessions of collectors, basically. If they can get their hands on one.
They're almost mythical, right? Like they and there's a lot of forgeries going around and that sort of thing, but the real experts know exactly, they ought to have seen them.
So you said 50 before. 41 of them have been collected, and there's 9 left. Because there's just something about, like, that you got the majority of them, and now
41 of them
really
have been collected by one collector. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm just saying that there are 9 left out in the world.
Right, just unaccounted for in sort of the coin collection collectors.
Yeah. So 41 have been collected and destroyed.
Oh, and okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's actually driving the price of these up because people know that there's only 9 of these left now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's maybe set over like a long period of time. So you first come in as like a young investigator whose whole job is to basically go around. And
well, are you an investor? Like, I agree that, like, I think what happens is someone comes across this coin, they've got it in their collection, but then, like, there's some mysterious person who always comes and offers them, like, a huge price for it.
Oh, kind of like Slugworth.
Well, sort of. I was definitely getting a Willy Wonka kind of vibe, in a way.
Would you take this golden ticket instead?
And listen, it's the theme of the episode, so it's set in England again.
Done.
Accidental theme today. But I think it is a bit like that. There's this mysterious figure, and they're presumed to just destroy it because they never turn up again. And it's been decades, right? Like, and so, yes, not only are they valuable because they're rare, but they're also valuable because there are these stories of, like, if you find one, there's this mysterious collector or person who comes and will offer you, millions of pounds for it. And so I think you're a collector then. I think you play, yes, initially a young kid, like, getting into coin collecting just by finding the particular year that one was printed or minted, your birth year or something, but then you start getting into it over time, and we explore the dank depths of the coin collection community. The
coin collection world. I mean, it's just off to the side of the stamp collecting world, but there's like
they look
a
down
bit of
on
rivalry there.
Yeah. Those stamp collectors, pieces of paper. What's this?
He eventually gets married to a stamp collector. Romeo and Juliet sort of thing, except not as bloody. And there was no death.
Most of the time, yeah. There was that, her ex who was also a stamp collector and really did not agree with this marriage to a coin collector. He did
punch him in the mouth. Like the first time he met him, just whack straight in the face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
How many times?
How many times did he hit him?
Yeah,
3 before they had to pull him off because. He's just like, filthy coin collectors. How dare you, Sully? You're going to make mudbloods. Keep the stamp collecting bloodline pure. He's a Nazi. I'm trying to think of the gameplay and how we can bring in some of this. Because I like the idea then of bringing in some sort of sorting, finding, going through, people's, like...
I'm thinking going through a swap meet and actually having to sort of sort through these coins and sort of analyze them.
Or like a garage sale where someone's selling their granddad's old coin collection or whatever, right? And it's like, you never know. I don't know how you make that
one day he's
boring.
Just walking down the street and he looks into a drain and he sees like something glinting down the bottom.
I've got a golden ticket.
Reaches down and it's like a dollar coin or whatever, and he goes in and buys a candy bar, and the change that he gets,
it's somehow still in circulation.
It's somehow like people just didn't realize, and this is like the final one.
And it's all like it's all, what's the word? How does the copper in them go or whatever, or the silver?
Oxidized,
tarnished. It's all tarnished. And so you can't actually quite tell, but he's been looking long enough now, or he's heard the stories, right? Heard the stories. So yeah, like there's you go home and you clean it, you get the nice coin cleaning stuff to restore it, and
the second that you actually see it, there's a knock at the door.
Oh God.
And it's like, it's like you're shining it up, and the second that you actually finish and you take it off, that's when the knock is at the door.
Yeah. And as soon as the player essentially sees the clean, untarnished version of this Queen Voldemort face.
Is it like they see the back and that's all clean, and then they turn over to the head side, and that's when that's when the knock at the door happens. And it's just Postman Pat. And so anyway, he goes back and sits down and looks at it again, and that's when the knock at the door again.
It's like, oh, Pat, what did you forget? Did you forget to give me a letter?
Then there's like,
and it's Fireman Sam.
This guy with a bowler hat sort of thing, and he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm late. Got stuck in the elevator."
It's Snape.
Unfortunately, it can't be played by Alan Rickman because he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, but we can take his inspiration. So is it sort of that? I mean, we don't have to explain that here, but like, did they sort of have a lead on this coin and they've tracked it down to that shop, and like that, the shop owner identified you as, I must have given that out as change.
Oh, I think it's one of these things that kind of like in Willy Wonka, they never explain how Slugworth gets there every single time they find a golden ticket. It's just, and then later on in the game, it's sort of like you find out that, oh no, he works for me.
For who though? So, all right. So let's,
I think it's the owner of the mint, sort of like, or the Grand Marshal of the mint. And it's like, no, he works for me.
It's the ghost of the worker who misaligned the plates and was executed.
They're a ghost all along. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't actually know what makes a good resolution there. I like, and this is often the problem with mystery kind of stories like this. It's like, okay, now we're at least season 3 or 4 of Lost, and we actually have to start answering questions.
Let's chuck time travel in.
Okay. So it turns out.
No, I'm saying that's what the people who lost did.
I just thought maybe we could. Since since I don't know where to go next. Okay. Is it just
it turns out that the guy who's searching around for all these coins is actually this coin collector from the future who's come back in time to find all the coins. And it's a big cyclical thing of
it's
when you're old enough, you'll understand.
The coin collector is actually the queen because
it's actually the Doctor, and he gets into a TARDIS and just disappears.
Yeah, it's actually it's
and the Slugworth character was just an earlier version of him with a different face.
What it actually is someone got stuck here and they're trying to find all of these before Teabag gets them because they're special.
Perfect.
How did that fucking show work again? You had to find all of the something.
Yep. And if she got them all, then she could do something, and you could basically lose. But then if you manage to get it out because T-shirt actually helped you.
Well, this is the mysterious figure is definitely T-shirt. Then
T-shirt, yeah.
Straight, like, funnily enough, this is not the first time we've referenced fucking Teabag's adventures or whatever on this show.
And I have all the episodes on my computer right now. Because I did happen to find them. Someone put them up on YouTube. Oh,
that's right. You grabbed them to make sure they didn't disappear. There you go.
Sorry, I did not do that. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, Teabag. Competitive drop.
Overriding client. I see client and I think like sort of server and client. I'm thinking a hacking.
Well, particularly with overriding.
Yeah.
So is this a drop in the sense of like dropping some information? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how like QAnon would have a drop. Are you trying to influence world politics by being cryptic and dropping information on random servers?
Are you finding the dropped information and you've mistakenly sort of come across and picked up, a dead drop of information? You've now got information that
you shouldn't have.
That you shouldn't have.
Yeah, it could be
you and your flat in the UK because every other game has been set in London.
Yeah, exactly. You plug your computer into the wall with, the weird round bottom plug. Yeah, I do kind of like the idea of a sort of mystery that plays out on your computer in that way, perhaps, that is around searching for these next drops, then following the clues in that way to find out who's leaving this information here, and then if other people find out you've got it, they're tracking you down, sort of thing. I
kind of like the idea of this being like a where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, but it's like you're tracking down this spy by following their trail all over
between different communities on the internet. So in a similar way, I think, and I haven't played a ton of it, to what Hypnospace Outlaw did, which is where you're sort of you essentially play it on a very classic 90s OS, and would just read through forums and different things to solve problems. But I think we set this in the modern day, and it's like Discord servers and TikTok comment pages, and you have to search the YouTube comments.
Then you go through the YouTube comments and you come across these numbers, and you don't kind of understand what the numbers actually mean, and people keep on saying BB or bulletin, and it's sort of like, oh, is this one of those old BBS things?
So you have
to you have to go find a 96 baud modem and
go and source an old school modem.
But to get that, you go to eBay, or in this case, ePay or whatever we eTay. I don't know. eBay. There we go.
Sure.
eBay. So you go to eBay and you purchase, this 96 baud modem. And then you've got to actually also purchase a phone line and get that installed because, you have a phone line. Who has a landline?
Yeah.
And it turns out that they use these BBSs for dead drops all the time.
Yeah.
Because no one ever actually uses them.
Now you're deep in it, and it becomes a task of finding essentially the phone number for the next BBS that you need to connect to follow the trail of these drops. Who's dropping the information? What do we find out is happening here? Is it
the Queen?
It's the Queen again, working with Postman Pat.
Carmen Sandiego.
Is there something stupid like it's a
black and white cat?
It's just a cat.
Sorry.
What I was going to say is, there's something dumb like they're like collecting Beanie Babies or something. Like it's this group of people who are, it's the deep web of like they're trading in Teddy Ruxpin dolls.
It's the Beanie Baby Secret Society sort of thing. Like that's,
yeah, that's
the Beanie Baby Society.
Yeah, this isn't a BBS. It's not a bulletin board system. You're connecting to the Beanie Baby Society.
There's just something about that is just so like, oh, and you realize that all these things that you thought were people chasing you and all this sort of stuff was just like, I don't know, either telemarketers or.
Well, no, they're hunting down. They see you connect and they're like, oh, this must be someone who's got some rare Beanie Babies.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're coming in, they're just lurking, watching all our.
And their leader, Carmen Sandiego, that's just they love the Carmen Sandiego's games, and that's their handle.
Yeah.
They like the color red. They don't know what to say. Like
they look it in a big wide brimmed hat. Yeah,
they're in the UK. They can travel very easily around Europe.
A lot of less easily.
Oh, less easily now, but this is set in 2022. After the whole half the population died from the snap.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That was COVID-19. Yep.
Oh God. Oh, that's kind of dark. I think we'll move on. Should we do a movie?
Oh wow! Yes, let's do that.
Let's finish off with a movie or two. All right. We could maybe play with this. It's not set in England, but we could shift it. I have 2019's Juanita. Fed up with her deadbeat grown kids and marginal urban existence, Juanita takes a Greyhound bus to Paper Moon, Montana, where she reinvents herself and finds her mojo. I think I've seen this, actually.
Mm-hmm. A paranormal entity.
Oh, was that actually a parody of Paranormal Activity, or is this a knockoff?
When was Paranormal Activity first came out?
Oh God, I don't know.
Okay, it was 2 years after that it came out, but
wait, this one came out first?
No, this one came out.
Yeah, okay.
Second, 2 years after.
Yeah,
but no, it's just a
knockoff.
Just a knockoff. But I like the idea of paranormal entity. You can go a lot of places with that. So yours was Juanita, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So paranormal entity, a woman fed up with her existence,
moves to the UK. Yep.
Moves to the UK.
Into an old cottage.
Where she finds out that her house is haunted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she reinvents herself and finds her mojo.
There's something about like this tiny little cottage in this tiny little town. Her mail gets delivered by Postman Pat every day. All that sort of stuff. And, there's sometimes her dog kills a cat. Anyway, so I think what actually starts happening is in the middle of the night she gets woken up every morning at like 3 a.m.
Like some specific creepy ass time, like 3:17.
3:33.
Sure.
3:33 every morning.
3:33. And she's being haunted by
she's very anxious,
Satan.
She's very anxious. Like she's been going through hell, and she moved here to get away from half of hell. Sorry, I didn't hear you say half of hell. Well done.
I said she was being haunted by half a Satan. That's what you meant.
It's literally just it's long ways. So it's literally
just his left. It's just Satan's left side. Or is this an Onward style? She has to communicate with the pair of legs. It's the back. Just like ears, some horns, half of his
and
horns.
an ass.
And an ass. Shoulders and an ass.
He turns around and there's like guts just falling out onto the ground. It's like, oh my God. So scary.
That's gross.
The ritual was only half complete.
Yeah.
And also it would cause a paradox if it ever made to 6:66 in the morning. Like,
I think one day, I think one day it does. I think one day, like, I think we go through a thing where, yes, she's getting woken up at 3:33. Creepy things are happening. Eventually, she like realizes she has to stay up, and she stays up till like 6:59, and then it clicks over to 6:60, 6:61, and there's like tension building, and we do it in real time. So there's like essentially a 7-minute scene where stuff like, and we still have to have stuff happening, but it's like building up to, something's going to happen when it gets to 6:66. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just picturing that there's like, she's sort of set up these cameras in her house, kind of like in Paranormal Activity.
Yep.
And she's sort of sitting there, and as it's sort of going through, you see like a shadow, and that camera gets knocked out, and you see it move on, and that camera gets knocked out, and then it's sort of like for the next like minute, you're literally just staring at the screen trying to see where it's coming from.
Yeah,
and nothing happens, and it's sort of like.
Is this a game that's played through these screens a lot, do you think? Like, are we someone watching Juanita? Or like...
I think it's Juanita, actually. You're playing Juanita, and you get to sort of have your conversations with, the pizza delivery man who delivers the pizza every now and again. And then you get to have your conversations with the paranormal investigator who comes by to actually check out the house and says, no, there's nothing here, and pay me $1,000. I just think that maybe she starts to suspect that it's just someone in the village who doesn't want her there. But then I kind of like the idea of, she keeps on seeing like a man in a hat.
Okay.
And she just thinks, oh no, it's just, I
just
need to set up this thing because of, it's just a coincidence. I like the idea that this guy in the hat actually turns up and then gets, lifted up into the air and like
it's
crushed,
like torn apart or something,
by a shadow, basically. And she goes, "Oh shit, no, this is actually real." And that's when it ticks over to 6:60.
Yeah. I'd love to see that in a game. Actually, I'd love to see a scene where because you could do it, relatively easily. It's one of the benefits of doing CG stuff, essentially, or game engine stuff. Is you see them being picked up, but like the shadow of them. You see the actual figure doing the grabbing, but their actual form is invisible. That'd be really cool.
Yep. And then that's just like, it hurts my head whenever I think about something like that. It's like, what's blocking the light? But why is the light not like showing up? Like it just, it's a paradox.
I like the idea actually from just a game UI point of view. Maybe you actually set this over a relatively short amount of time. Maybe you set this... I mean, you maybe give a bit of the backstory or something, or maybe you introduce the backstory in other ways, but I kind of like the idea that the clock has been on the screen the whole game. So it's sort of just become part of the background.
Yep.
So that when it does click over to 6:60, like, it's this super kind of creepy because it takes you out of then, like, the reality shift of... Wait a sec. That's not meant to happen.
I'm picturing that one of the nights she wakes up and it's like 3:33. And then, she's looking around, she looks back and it's 7:07 in the morning. And like, it's light outside all of a sudden, it's sort of like, where did that time go? It's that weird thing of, has she actually lost time? And then you can actually go back to view the footage. And it's sort of like you see her just sitting in bed for like 4 hours straight. And then she slowly turns her head throughout that entire 4 hours to look at the clock. Yeah. And it's like the creepiest thing.
That's cool. I love that idea of you never mention, she's getting woken up at 3:33. Stuff keeps like she essentially keeps snapping back in different ways to reality at 7:07, and you leave it obviously up to the player to realize, like,
that
wait a sec, 7:06 is 6:66. If you keep going, yeah. So that, because then I love that idea actually of once all the shit's gone down, like, and it hits 666, and there's a minute of chaos or whatever, it clicks over to 7:07.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just repeats again. I kind of think...
Or that's the end of the game or something. Like, maybe like at 666, she like fucking exorcises this entity out of her home or something. And then, yes, it clicks over to 7:07. And like, that's the last shot of the game is like, it clicks over to 7:07.
And then the credits roll. And then you see later that night, just as it, it's got to be one of those flick, those old clocks that actually flick down.
It's got an actual physical number that, like,
yeah. And it just sort of goes over to the clock, and it just holds there, and it's at 3:32, and it just holds there, and then just goes to black. Like, it never quite.
You see it start to fall,
and then it goes to black. Like, you don't know whether she actually woke up again at 3:33 or whether this is actually over.
Yeah. Okay.
That's cool.
I liked the idea actually before of having a moment where messing with the player, because you know where the player's looking, like, that just for literally like one frame as they pan across to the clock, it's showing like 666 or or something, but then immediately flicks to the actual time. Just doing some fun stuff with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
and it's just, she's just trying to live in this town, and
she's just trying to reinvent herself. She's just trying to be a new person, find new friends, figure out what she likes, figure out what her life is.
It's the whole Stardew Valley with a lot of horror set in her house.
This fucking entity keeps waking her up.
But yeah, there's something about that old style of clock that just,
Oh yeah, you can do a lot of playing.
The sound of the number sort of going down.
Well, and even just little uncanny valley things where there's sort of a very natural, like, those things just fall, right, with gravity. Yep. I can just imagine you shifting that so it almost it falls, but it, like, instead of accelerating due to gravity, it like slows down. It just falls really, like it just goes over to the next number like too slowly, as if it's almost being controlled rather than just a little sort of getting a little push and flicking over.
That 664 to 665, it starts falling straight away, and it just over a minute it just falls.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just so creepy.
Oh yeah, I think that's it. I think during those 7 minutes between 6:59 and 6:66. Like, there's some weird fucking shit happening with the clock and with different
One
things.
of them folds sideways, and it's just weird. It's like, what the fuck happened there?
It's like, clock's like folding in on itself.
You know what it is? It's the 5, in the 650.
Yeah.
That folds sideways and
becomes a 6.
Well, basically, it looks like a 5, but it's kind of closed off that little part. Kind of, the 5 looks like a 6 without the closed off part.
Well, and I actually love it as a physical clock, because then it makes even less sense. Like, it's even creepier. Like, that second to last number shouldn't even have a 6 in it. Right? It shouldn't physically exist.
And that's why when
there.
you see it actually just fold over, and it's just this tiny little part that just folds over and just completes the 6. Just looks like a 5 that's closed in.
Yeah. That's cool. All right.
Yeah. I love it.
I think we'll end the episode there on that haunting note.
Well done, Ben. Oh my God. His 50,000th pun.
That was barely even a pun. That was just a segue. If you want to find the rest of... What penny coming from? I don't understand what's going on. 50,000 puns. That's a lot for 261 episodes.
Yeah, 200.
It's like
what is this? 230? Like is it? 231.
230? Oh, yeah. Wait, I don't know. Did I say 260? No, wait. Yeah, wait. No, 230. Yeah, 230 something.
What?
Anyway. Yes, 231. I'm getting 30 weeks ahead of myself. Sorry, I'm literally sitting here. I'm literally sitting here in my head trying to figure out how many puns per episode that is. I have to do it now. That's 217 puns an episode. So I'm not
that's how many we've cut out. Like,
oh, right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize you were counting the ones we cut out. Yeah. We leave many hours of me just making bad puns on the cutting room floor.
Yes.
If you want to find us online, leave us a review. Tell us how many puns you like per episode. Go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. Find us there. Leave a review. Let us know. Give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
And also, we'd love to thank the wonderful musicians that crewed us for letting us use the song Mount Defiance off the album Containment Failure as our theme song every single week. Every week.
It's just so generous.
It really is. I mean, not at the start. Like, they gave us an old song of theirs.
Yeah, go back and listen. You'll...
Heavy space.
Yeah.
Ba-do-do.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott. The case of the missing ending.